Everyone is selling 4-hour Claude Code courses. I run 3 live products solo with 4 folders and 1 CLAUDE.md file. If you're a builder whose Claude session forgets your project every single time you open it, you already know the real problem isn't the model, it's the scaffold around it. In the next 15 minutes, I'll show you the exact directory layout that lets Claude Code maintain shipped products in parallel without re-arguing decisions you already made 3 weeks ago. Most tutorials show you how to start a project. I'll show you how to keep one alive. I'm Lazar. I ship this scaffold for clients every week. Let's open the tree. Here's the situation I keep seeing with solopreneurs and small teams who bought into the Claude Code hype. You start a project, first session is magic, second session is fine, and by the 5th session, Claude is asking you questions you already answered, suggesting patterns you explicitly rejected, and rewriting code that took you 2 hours to get right. So you dump more context into a giant README. That works for one more session. Then it breaks again. You blame the model, you consider switching, you buy a course, and none of it fixes the actual bug. The actual bug is that you're treating your repo like a code base when Claude Code needs it to be a knowledge base. It doesn't need more prose. It needs a routing structure so it knows where to look for what. Once you fix that, one operator can run 3 products in parallel with about 90 minutes of Claude sessions a day, and context reloads in under 10 seconds when you switch between them. That's what I want to hand you today. 4 folders and 1 file. Let me walk you through the scaffold. At the root of every client repo I ship, right next to the source code, there are 4 directories. The first is Ops. Ops holds the daily runbooks, how to deploy, how to roll back, how to check if the invoice job actually ran last night, how to restart the bot if the webhook dies. These are not architecture docs, these are the 2 in the morning docs. When Claude Code opens Ops, it knows we are in operator mode, not builder mode. Second folder is Specs. Specs is the source of truth for every feature. Not a wish list, not a backlog. The actual behavior contract. When a customer says the invoice PDF should include the VAT breakdown by rate, that goes in specs/invoices.md as a numbered requirement. When Claude Code is about to touch invoice logic, it reads that file first. If the spec and the code disagree, the code is wrong. That single rule kills 80% of the drift you get in long-running projects. Third folder is Decisions. This is the one nobody sets up and everybody needs. Decisions holds architecture decision records. 1 file per meaningful call. Why we picked Postgres over SQLite. Why we don't use an ORM in the invoicing service. Why we accept a 2-second latency on the Telegram bot instead of caching. Each file is short, context, decision, consequences, date. When Claude Code proposes a change that contradicts a past decision, it either respects the decision or it explicitly flags that the decision not updating. It stops re-arguing choices you already closed. Fourth folder is Context. This one holds customer and domain facts that don't belong in code. The Serbian VAT rules for a specific invoicing product. The exact Telegram chat IDs the operations bot listens to, the client's brand voice for the lead gen tool. Domain knowledge that a normal developer would carry in their head. Claude doesn't have a head, so we give it a folder. Now the routing file. At the root, right next to those 4 directories, sits CLAUDE.md. It's roughly 12 lines. It does one job. It tells Claude which folder to open first based on what you're asking. If the task is a bug fix or a feature change, read specs then decisions before touching source. If the task is deployment, incident, or health check, open ops. If the task involves customer-specific behavior, tax rules, or business logic that isn't in the code, open context. If you're proposing an architectural change, write a new file in decisions before writing code. That's it. 12 lines. No prose, no philosophy, just routing. Let me show you what this looks like in a real session. Say I open a repo for an invoicing product that's been live for months. There's a bug. VAT rounding is off by 1 cent on multi-line invoices. I tell Claude Code, fix the VAT rounding on invoice totals. Because of CLAUDE.md, it doesn't dive into the code. It opens specs/invoices.md, finds the rounding rule, opens decisions and finds the ADR where we chose bankers rounding over standard rounding, then opens the actual invoice calculator. It comes back with a patch that respects both the spec and the past decision, and it took maybe 40 seconds. No back and forth about why we're not just using the built-in round function. That argument is already closed in decisions. Same scaffold works across every product I ship. A Telegram operations bot for daily business ops, a lead gen tool for a small agency, an invoicing system for a niche market. Same 4 folders, same CLAUDE.md, only the contents differ. When I switch products in the morning, Claude reloads context in seconds because the structure is identical. My brain doesn't have to switch modes, and neither does the models. Now the anti-pattern, because this is where most people are stuck. You have one giant README at the root. Maybe it's grown to 800 lines. It has setup instructions, architecture notes, a changelog, some to-dos, a section a former contractor wrote that nobody has read in a year. Every Claude session, the model tries to hold all of that as context, and it can't prioritize. It weighs the changelog and the spec equally. After about 3 sessions, hallucinations start creeping in. Not because the model got worse, but because signal to noise in your context window collapsed. The fix isn't a bigger context window. The fix is separation. 4 folders, 1 router, small focused files. One more thing before the wrap. When you migrate an existing repo into this scaffold, don't try to do it all at once. Start with decisions. Sit down for 20 minutes and write down the 5 most important architectural calls you've made on that project. Even short ones, 3 lines each. Just that alone, before you touch specs or context, will make your next Claude Code session noticeably sharper. Then add specs for the 2 or 3 features that get touched most often. Ops and context you can build over the next week as things come up. You don't need a 4-hour course. You need 4 directories and the discipline to actually write into them. If you want the exact scaffold, the CLAUD.md router, plus the 4-folder READMEs I use across every kind repo, grab the template at BizflowAI.io, same structure running behind live products right now. While you're there, you'll see the kind of automation and custom integration work we ship for solopreneurs and small teams. If you've got a workflow you want automated, book a free 30-minute discovery call at BizflowAI.io and we'll map it out. And hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next breakdown lands in your feed. I'm shipping these weekly from real client work,